Good morning. Today we're going to be taking a look at XRP and the Sigma coin. So XRP has been having a very, very strong reaction off of this initial correction that it's done here off the lows. And I still am in the camp and expecting that we should continue to see one more correction and leg to the downside. So what I've kind of adjusted here is we have our 5-wave move to the downside. We were anticipating kind of like a standard A, B, C kind of move with a correction lower off of this. But with the Fed meeting and the cut that everyone was expecting, we ended up having this whipsaw through yesterday and then this now 5-wave move up to the upside again. So with this price action, I'm now identifying this as an A leg here, and then a B, which would go down, up, and then a C leg that would then ultimately stretch into this level here. So we're going to talk about just kind of risk management on how to best approach this now that we've seen this really strong reaction here. And so let's start with a throwback to the past of where we've seen this type of 5-wave move to the downside, an A up, B down, and a C up to kind of give us some perspective. So here is XRP back in 2025 at the start of the year. So after we topped out, completing a 5-wave move to the upside, we ended up having an 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave move to the downside to complete this illiquid wick down. And then we went with an ABC up, ABC down, and then another ABC back up again with this parabolic kind of 5-wave move to the upside. So just like we have here, there's your 5-wave move down, ABC up, ABC down, and then another 5-wave move up. And so this matches basically the same structure that we have. And notice we end up coming all the way back down into the supply region of where we were before, a bounce, and then one more low still comes in for a complex move. And actually, technically, we have one more after that. Now, this was in a different time period of the market where we had just completed a larger macro move. So I don't know if we'll get as lucky as to have this many, but you end up having an A, B, C correction again before we start to see our first wave 1 and 2 off the lows. Now the good news is this is on the 2-hour chart, so these are much bigger candles and a lot more of everything. So the idea would be that we could see a breakdown to the range low, a move back up, and then another breakdown to the range low, completing the gap close ultimately that played out here in this region down here. And this gap close is still what we're aiming for on our larger macro view, which is right down into this area of supply. So let's talk about our local measurements now, just to kind of how we're going to approach this. So let's start by zooming in super close and looking at what we have here. So what we have is a Fed meeting, volatility, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have this 5-wave move off the lows, and this 5-wave move is ultimately giving us this completion of all of it, right? So we're done there. Now we should expect a pullback, right, to start playing. And this pullback is ultimately, at the bare minimum, going to retrace somewhere in this region right here with an ABC. Well, we can see that we've already hit it, and there really isn't much of an ABC showing up just yet. So this will be our first area of, actually, I'm sorry, 382 is normally your first area of where you're going to want to watch. And we do have a gap right there. So we're going to be watching this 382 region. Then from there, we have a whole nother gap into this region right here. And the more common bounce area is the 618. So we can at minimum expect that we should start watching price action around 304 to see if we end up finding support being built or if we continue lower. And then lastly, we have some price action even still down here with some gaps that weren't fully closed at the 886. And if we start losing the 886, we zoom out, right? So then here is our first kind of completion of the low. And this is the continuation of the breakdown zone. So if we end up losing 295, then we can expect that we'll come lower into a final area here. So taking then the measurements of this entire leg A and this leg B of the larger degree, we should expect that at minimum a 290 reclaim would be the area. 299, 29099 is what we would expect. And when we look to the left here with that price action, lo and behold, there's that gap area that we are seeing, and we can expect that a 290 move would close the majority of the gap, getting us just past the 0.5. And if we go back to this price action right here, and we look at this kind of retrace, if we end up drawing a fib off the high here, you can see that that ends up taking us back into the 382 region for the whole move. So let's see, did I do this upside down? I did. Let's flip it. All right, so this fib ultimately would show us that from the low over here on the left, we would be looking at a potential pullback down. Let's make this low right there. There we go. Yeah, ends up being a 786 pullback of the larger overall move, and that would give us still a massive front run of this whole area here, because the 786 would take us down into this region. So so the anticipation and the expectation is that we still have to do a corrective 5-wave move to the downside. How that's going to look and where we're going to end up landing is either a front run with the current move, and then this is valid. We lose this low off of 298, then we have a new low at 295, and if we lose that one, then we're looking at 291-ish is what we can expect, with a potential stretch even as low down here to the larger 702, 618 region of 287 to 283. So we might have some really aggressive wicks down into that price action. So, but as of right now, the 5 waves move for this leg is in after having completed a 5, 3, 5, just like what we did back here in the early part of the year. So this wick is kind of where I would expect we are, and then imagine something like this to play out. Whether or not we'll get that last leg, I don't know, but we'll be watching for something in case it rolls over on itself. We'll have our same invalidation points. So now jumping over to the Sigma coin, we can see that Sigma coin has shown us some great strength. So we had expectations that Sigma was going to come down to 1.35 million. I was aiming for this spot right here, which is the 886 at 1.32 million, and it looks like everybody's working on front running this thing. So 4-hour Stotch is still turning up, and we have our daily still also kind of cooling off but starting to curve back up again. So personally, I'm going to see how we play out with XRP, and if we do have that one leg kind of smash, kind of flop over, that would be the opportunity to buy. But this is looking extremely bullish. I mean, a nice reaction right off the box that we were expecting, with a miss of the area that we were planning on going down to by, goodness, look at that, or where I wanted it to go to by 1%. You guys, crazy. Anyway, so yeah, so we've had a really good reaction off the lows here, and I think this might be the beginning of the reversal finally after completing a wave 1 and wave 2 for the Sigma coin. So so we'll continue to monitor and watch, but things are starting to cook over here, which makes me think we've got to be very cautious of this mid-range, grabbing a potential entry at 304, or at least watching it very closely to see if it starts to run again, because this may, in the event that this correction is something different, we at minimum should have at least a pullback to that level. If we end up getting the entire region played out where, oh my goodness, we got stuff all over this thing. All right, so if we end up getting to the entire region where this fib is of the overall wave 1 view, then we would be looking at a pullback down to 302.44. So somewhere in this box area is where I would be watching aggressively to then be a buyer. And if we have any type of sign of a bounce out of here, then just chase. Otherwise, we are still aiming for this lower price target view that we're playing for. So so that's basically what we're looking at here for the XRP coin. And again, amazing reaction for Sigma right off the lows. So I think we're getting to the point where this is going to start grinding its way out of here after completing a wave 1, wave 2. And then this goes along with XRP's strength up to this point. So, all right, thank you for watching, and hopefully that was helpful, and we'll check in tomorrow.